A French novelist, Ariana Nitz, said, "Every friend represents a world in us, a world that cannot be arrived. Will arrive only you meet them." So this platform help you to meet new friends. So please share a smile and talk with everyone only in the break. This is called upon Sergeant at Arms. Every Toastmasters meeting has 3 M rules. Mobile phone can be switched off or put on silent mode. Move only when you hear noise. Make sure you are not talking about sex, religion, and politics. I was working with construction company for 5 years. As every engineer, I too wanted to shift my career. So I prepared for my CAT exam and got into Jain University. I asked my friends that I am going to join in the college. What do you think of it? Most of them laughed, and one of them asked like, "Can you be able to study for 2 years and sit for 3 hours in the exam?" At this age, I refused them and joined in the college. Now I completed my first year and got more than 80%. As the team, A Place in the Sun explained, my grad preparation gave me a place in the sun to continue my studies and to take MBA. Now, I am introducing a person who is a corporate trainer, and he believes that this Bangalore Toastmasters Club helped him and gave a place in the sun to attain bigger stage in his career. Please help me in welcoming our president of our club, Toastmaster Shashank Bhatt.
Thank you, Toastmaster Club, for that energetic introduction. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests.
Good evening.
Welcome to the legendary and iconic Bangalore Toastmasters Club. I call to order meeting number 1388 of the Bangalore Toastmasters Club. The minutes of the previous meeting was sent to the members by our treasurer, Toastmaster Suhas. Are there any amendments to the same? I then declare the minutes of the previous meeting 1387 as passed. Today, this day, I have chosen to interact with the newer members of our club. We have the timer here, the R counter here, other first-time icebreaker speakers who were part of the icebreaker marathon last week. We just take 1 minute to talk to you. When I joined the club, I was already a trainee. But back then, my trainings were limited to specific points, specific questions, and specific answers. Why did I join this club? I knew about this club from probably a long time, probably more than 7 to 8 years. The commitment was missing from my end. So once I took up the commitment, only if I can deliver and if I can do justice to the role, I would come back and join. After 7 long years, thanks to DTM Rajdeep Manmani who is sitting here, I joined this club. And once I joined this club, what did I notice? There were many members who spoke to me when I was a guest. My first meeting, Puneet was here, Anna, the then president, was there. They spoke to me as if I was a member of this club from almost 10 years. And when this happened, I thought I belonged here. And what did I want to improve when I came here? I wanted to improve my on-spot speaking skills. I was an introvert. I could not even dare to talk to people. You tell me, hi, I'm Shashank. Don't say hi. That was my level of communication even when I joined here. Probably people who were members who knew me by the time know that I was not a person who could speak much. From a person who was not able to talk to others, to a person standing here and delivering this address, I have come a long way thanks to all the senior and veteran members of our club. So what am I telling you, the new members of our club? You have to find a place in the sun. How would you do that? We consider ourselves as a family here. With no ego, with no restrictions, we talk to each other, we help each other. And once we do that, the happiness of others learning from us, even though they may not tell us, that satisfaction we can feel when we look at others. Without telling us, when they show it to us. Even today, when I came back from a training, today was the last day of a hectic week, 8 hours a day, for 5 days. When I was about to leave from there, that thank you sir, it helped us a lot, meant a lot to us. We don't expect that as trainers, but when someone tells us, there is no better encouragement than this. Similarly to all of you who can become like me, or to become better than me, you have come to the right place. How do we do that? Improve gradually, day by day. I wanted to improve my table topics. And when I improved my table topics, how did I do? I learned from Dr. Rajdeep. I learned from DTM Vijayanand. I learned from Toastmaster Sureka. I learned from various others here. And when I did that, from my effort, I became better. That little push is required from others. And once we feel the push, that is when we can move forward. And we find a place in the sun. Amplify what we know, and we learn and we teach others, which is our theme for this term. Together we evolve. It's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us and all of us moving together. Having said that, I'll give you a couple of advice since there are many new members here. 2 ground rules to the new members. 1, this stage is a sacred place. I call this my second home. Don't leave the stage unoccupied. When the member is done speaking, when he moves on, make sure you hand over the stage to others by proper shake hand, then move forward. Second, we call ourselves as Toastmasters. And when we call the organization, we call it Toastmasters International, Bangalore Toastmasters Club, and not Toastmaster Club. These 2 ground rules, I hope all of us improve and all of us go together, all of us evolve together. The next person who comes on stage, the Toastmaster of the day. When I walked into the club and when I met people, he was one of the loudest people I had seen in this club. You can see that today, I may not need a mic, but for him, he can talk softly and reach all of you in the crowd. For me, it takes a lot of effort. It comes with ease for him. Person who is one of the most dependable members of this club. Need someone as an evaluator because someone backed out? He is there. You need a tag team player, timer, account or grammarian? He is there. You need a main role taker? He is there. Please put your hands together to welcome the entrepreneur of our club, who manages the homestay at Chikmagalur, who has got one of the highest ratings in India. Please put your hands together to welcome the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Alan Arana.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
Can we have it a little louder? Let's bring the energy up. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests.
Good evening.
Very good. It's very nice. You also feel energetic. I also feel energetic. And so my name is Alan Arana, and I am the Toastmaster of the day. When I got this theme, a place in the sun, for the first few minutes I was seeing stars. Okay? Because I really didn't know what it meant, but once I came to know the meaning, I went on a nostalgic journey, and that journey ended with me entering those doors in March 2011 as a new member of Bangalore Toastmasters Club. Now, our president spoke about people finding a place in the sun after coming here and starting their journey. For me, it started from the moment I entered those doors. I found a very positive, I wouldn't say even criticism, but a place where there is constructive feedback being given and a world of encouragement. It truly made me feel at home. And today, in 2023, if I am here standing in front of you, it is all thanks to the fact that I chose to enter, and today many of the guests who are here have felt very welcome, I'm sure, and that was the welcome I got, and today here I am standing in front of all of you. Speaking about finding a place in the sun, none of this would have been possible without the visionary leader, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley, who started this whole movement in his basement. Today, there are over 15,000 clubs, and we are present in over 122 countries. And that is the power of this whole movement. Now, a typical Toastmaster movement is divided into 3 stages. The prepared speeches, where speakers prepare their speeches and come on stage and deliver it to all of you. Then we have the table topic session, where speakers are given a topic and have to spontaneously speak on it. And the last one is the evaluation session, where the session as a whole is evaluated and specific parts are also evaluated. But today is not any normal Toastmaster meeting. Today, instead of the table topics, we have an exciting education session, which I'll talk about when we get to it. Our evaluation session is held by a general evaluator, who I will introduce at the start of the evaluation session. Now, the general evaluator is aided by 3 golden stars, you can call them. They are the underrated heroes of this meeting. They are the tag team, timer, counter, and grammarian. Today's timer is a person who grew up wanting to go to America, and after a lot of hardship, perseverance, and a prior rejection, he finally found his place in the sun with a 10-year multiple visit visa to America. May I request Toastmaster Mahbubullah to read out the guidelines of his role, please.
Well, time and tide doesn't wait for anybody, and everybody has the same 24 hours. As a timer, it is my duty to time and record the duration of entire meeting and its individual parts. For today's meeting, speeches are 5 to 7 minutes in duration. At 5 minutes, I will hold up the green card, 6 minutes yellow card, 7 minutes the red card. Table topics. Speeches are from 1 to 2 minutes, wherein at 1 minute, I'll hold the green card, followed by the yellow card at 1.5 minutes, and 2 minutes the red card. At the end of the meeting, I will give my report to the general evaluator and to submit to the club secretary in order to become as a part of the permanent record. Thank you so much.
The R counter is held by someone who loves adventure sports. May I request Toastmaster Vaspi to read out her own.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Many a times we get lost in our own world. So as an hour counter, I'll be counting and listening very carefully for the use of vocal pauses, crutch words such as you know, and repetitive words or phrases. I'll be keeping track of everyone and report at the end of the meeting on who best control their use of filler words. This evaluation starts at the beginning of the meeting and ends at adjournment. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaspi. Our grammarian is the ex-president of our club. She has a soft voice but a powerful personality. Ladies and gentlemen, before I ask you to put your hands together, may I ask Hannah Victoria to read out the guidelines for the room.
A very good evening to each one of you. My role as a grammarian is to jot down the good and not so good usage of the English language, and I will submit my report at the end of the meeting. My role also entails to introduce to you the word of today, which is engender, and usage of engender in a sentence would be: public speaking seems to engender a sense of accomplishment, which in turn boosts our self-confidence and helps us to deal with other aspects of life. Over to you.
Thank you, and may I request you to give the tag team a huge round of applause. Our first speaker will, before I move on to the first speaker, let me say we're going to start the prepared speeches, so please give a huge round of applause for all the speakers who are going to come on stage. Our first speaker will be attempting level 1 project 2 of the leadership development pathway. His evaluator is someone who loves to meditate for a long time and in long stretches. Okay, wondering who I'm talking about? May I request Toastmaster Jeevan to read out the guidelines of the speaker's speech.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of the project is a speaker to learn and review basic method of writing a script with purpose and deliver a well-organized speech in front of the larger audience. Timer, please note the time allotted is 5 to 7 minutes.
Normally, the Toastmaster of the day has to force people to clap, but I'm very happy that people clap, without asking you to be clapped. It's very good. Did you know also clapping is good for health? I'll get back to the health benefits of it, but after the speeches. So, our first speaker is someone who sometimes gets traumatized by playing Uno. Now, you may all be wondering why. You can ask him post this meeting, right? That's what the excitement is all about. With his speech title, An Addition to My Family, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Brian.
How many of you here have been scammed before? I can see a few hands. Let me tell you, I have been scammed by my own parents. Good evening, Toastmasters and my dear guests. We all have encountered this incident in our childhood where we ask our parents for something we really, really want, but we don't really end up getting it. I was in a similar situation where I asked my parents something I really want. It wasn't a bike, a phone, or anything like that. It was about getting home a pet dog. Years and years together, I have begged my parents to get home a pet dog. They usually reply by saying, "We'll see," which is basically, as you all guessed, a straight up no. Or they would give me some hope and tell, "Okay, Brian, go do your research and tell me what kind of a dog you want, then we'll talk." So that again leads me to do research for more than 2 hours on the kind of a dog I want, looking at the pros and cons of getting a particular dog. I've also gone to the extent of calling particular breeders and asking them how much a particular breed costs. When I do my research and I present it to my parents, they'll strike me with another heartbreak. Let your exams finish. That's again, as you all guessed it right, a straight up no. When you look at adopting a dog or even buying a dog, for me personally, I didn't think much of indies or stray dogs. For me, it was about the fancy breeds like the golden retrievers, huskies, cocker spaniels, pugs, you name it. I always told my mother that when I get my first salary, I would buy a dog. But fortunately, on the 11th of July 2021, my Joseph's classmate Arish went to Kabun Park and he clicked a picture of a dog on his arms with the title "Up for Adoption." When I saw that, I got my cycle and I cycled all the way to Kabun Park. Rushed to the place, fearing she might have already been adopted. When I reached Kabun Park, I asked the lady in charge, her name was Priya. I asked Priya if the dog is still up for adoption. She gave me a positive answer. She told me, "Yeah, it's still up for adoption." It brought on my face a huge smile because up front, in a bit of distance further, I saw a angel in disguise. I saw Milo in a pink colored box, tired from all the squishing, the petting she received that day. She was nicely sleeping. I approached Priya again. I asked her, "Ma'am, can I take her home now?" On my face, she told no. Apparently, adopting a dog is more complicated than actually buying a dog. Adopting a dog, it made me give her many documents. She even had to talk, she even had to have a chat with her parents before I could take her home. In a subsequent week, my dad was exposed to a 45-minute long interview by the NGO volunteers. Even to this day, he jokes about it, telling when he was getting married, his father-in-law didn't ask these many questions as the NGO volunteers did. On the 16th of July 2021, we got Milo home. We adopted her thinking we gave a homeless pup a home, a family to love. But turns out we just gave her a home and a family to love. There was more that she gave to us than we actually gave to her. You might have a bad day. You might come home tired from college, tired from work, from all the pressure. There's always Milo in the front door with the grandest of welcomes. You might be sitting jobless at home, doing nothing, but not Milo. Milo sees you jobless, she'll bring a sock and force you to play tug of war with her. She might be a pup, but she's pretty good at it. We were so in love with Milo and so into the process of adoption that recently we got home another pup, Kira. Milo is now 2 years old while Kira is just 9 months. Let me tell you, Kira is twice the size of Milo already. And now they make up quite the team. They play tug of war with each other. You might, when you wake up in the morning, you might find one of your chappal in the second floor and another in the terrace. It's all fun. But we adopted these two pups, not thinking of what breed they are or what gender they are. I was going to actually buy a dog from a breeder. Adopting these two lovely ones, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes and my family's eyes into the brutality into breeding. Breeders, they breed dogs in a very inhumane way. They are forced to live in conditions which are not suitable for them. They are overbred and they do not care a bit for their health. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you want a dog or a pet, do not call the breeders. Instead, just adopt one, because there's more that the dog gives to you than you can actually give it to all of them. The next time you go shopping, the next time you actually want a pup home, just adopt, don't shop.
Thank you, Brian, for that thought-provoking and heartfelt speech. Speaking about thought-provoking speeches, let's move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is going to be attempting Level 3 Project 1 under the Dynamic Leadership Pathway. Before I go on about the speaker, his evaluator is someone who's born and raised in Bangalore and loves Chennai. Wondering who that is? May I request Toastmaster Vijayanand to read out the guidelines of the speech.
The project is negotiate the best outcome. The purpose statements. The purpose of this project is remember to learn different types of negotiation and the strategies that can be used when negotiating. The purpose of the speech is for member to share some aspect of a past or future negotiation in his or her life. Time 5 to 7 minutes. Practicality.
So our speaker is someone who loves to take the road less traveled. With this speech titled Communicate, Listen and Then Negotiate, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Vijay Kalabundri.
Time is 9 a.m. I am ready. I have a meeting to attend at 9:30 a.m. But I have to drop my daughter to school before I head to work and attend that meeting. That's when my daughter runs all of a sudden from my friend from the other room and says, Papa, Papa, I want to wear that yellow colored dress. Before I could look at her, my wife comes from behind, and in her hand is that blue color neatly ironed dress. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear friends, good evening. Good evening. I'm sure you all must be thinking what happened next. As I look towards my daughter, she had a ray of hope, and she was expecting me to say that I will tell her to wear the yellow dress. And I look towards my wife has a smile of confidence. Because she knew, he cannot go against me. That's when I dropped the hat of a husband, I dropped the hat of a parent, I dropped the hat of a manager, and then put the hat of a negotiator. I used all my table topics learning skill what I had here. And then replied back to my daughter. I said her, daughter, why don't you wear that neatly ironed blue colored dress in the morning? And Mama will take you to the park in the evening and that yellow dress. Both of them puzzled, but they both agreed on that because both had won the argument. Negotiation is one of such skills which is required no matter you are in your personal life or professional life or your business life. Negotiation is something which is required if you want to arrive at an agreeable solution between two or more parties who are involved. In early 2000, I was living in this apartment complex which had just 12 houses. And that complex had an adjacent vacant site. There was a main road and there was a school next to it. We all know whenever the sites are vacant in Bangalore, it becomes a breeding ground for a lot of mosquitoes, worms. It is also a dumping ground for a lot of garbage. A lot of other things which are not to be done on an empty site. So we all were worried. And just like any other citizen of this country, we all rang up the local MLA, local MP, corporator, health inspector in the name, in the directory, we reached all of them. But we could not solve it. That's when I put on a hat of an initiator and a negotiator. I thought this has to be done in a very, very planned way. I approached an NGO called Let's Be the Change, called them, but they were not interested. I negotiated with them if we can send at least 2 people and help us draw a plan on how we can do a facelift to that empty site. They thought and they told, okay, after 2 days they came back to me saying that they are going to send just 2 people. I then went to my apartment association people and negotiated with them. Can you provide us the logistics? Not much, but some kind of requirements for cleaning the site, and some of you can also help on your weekends. After some thought, they said, okay, we provide some help. Then I negotiated with the school authorities if they can lend a few students from 8th to 9th standard to help us clean that. After 2-3 days, they came back to me that it seems to be difficult. Then I added a point to them saying that why don't you tag it along your program of SUPW, social, useful, productive work, and make them channelize students here. Then they were forced to think. And they also get a required advertisement in the local news daily. They were able to click towards it. And on one fine Saturday, we all came together, which seemed to be a mountainous task. We were able to clean and engender the entire landscape into a different thing what we cannot imagine. So, negotiation, my dear friends, are of 5 types. One is competitive, where I win, you lose. Or there is a collaborative way, where I win and you win. Third is a compromise way, where I win but lose on a few points. You win but you lose on a few points. And together we win. Fourth is accommodative. Generally, in case of husband and a wife, husband says I lose and you win. So this kind of a negotiation style. The fifth one is avoidance. In case of avoidance, I lose and you lose. So my dear friends, negotiation is not just about persuading and convincing others, but it is all about hearing, listening them and understanding what the other parties are wanting to say. It is all about being flexible and creative about the solution what you want to get. And it's also about bringing that collaborative angle to whatever the final decision you take. So negotiation is a combination of all of this. And we all do negotiate day in and day out. But if we want to take it a notch higher in our day-to-day negotiation skills, what are those 4 things what you can do? C, for communicate. Communicate clearly with a definitive action points. So when your communication is crystal clear, the parties or the teams who are involved in case of negotiation are able to think through, are able to connect with you. Second is listen. So in case of whenever there is a conflict, we try to put our points together. No one is in the listening mode, but if we are open and we are doing the active listening, then there is a high chance that all the points are put on board and then we are able to discuss. E for emotional intelligence. So whenever there is a heated argument and you are trying to play the role of a negotiation, then you need to be emotionally calm. And the fourth one is you need to be having achievable goals. So goals after the negotiation, if you are able to bring it onto a table where you are able to achieve whatever is required, then you are able to, your negotiation is going to be successful. So any negotiation is a combination of lot of things. But if we are able to work on these things and we are able to achieve, then the negotiation will be successful. Back to you.
Thank you, Vijay, for that wonderful speech. We all need negotiation tactics, especially when it comes to our partners. I could see a lot of people furiously writing and smiling knowingly. And these tips are always very, very helpful. Now moving on to speaker number 3. Our third speaker is attempting level 3 project 2 from the dynamic leadership pathway. Now, this evaluator is a Mumbaiker at heart, and very few people know that she speaks Marathi. May I request DTM Sumitra Manmohan to read the guidelines of the speaker.
This project focuses on the positive. The purpose of it is for the member to practice being aware of his or her thoughts and feelings, as well as the impact of his or her responses on others. The purpose of the speech is for the member to share his or her experience completing the project. Time and manager, please note, it's 5 to 7 minutes, and it's back to you.
Our speaker loves airplane spotting. I mean, it's very simple, but if you have doubts, again, you can meet him probably to clarify all your doubts once this meeting is over. With a speech titled, No Isn't Always No, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Alan Kamal.
Thinking back, how many of you sitting here today regret not asking that girl out in school or in college? Don't have to raise your hands, but give me a nod or a smile. How many of you have not reached out to an old friend to wish them for a birthday or keep in touch? How many of you have avoided, made an excuse, or postponed a possible speech when your VP Education has reached out to you? Quite a few of y'all. How many of y'all have felt a little afraid, a little vulnerable to reach out to a person at a time in need, where you just wanted to speak, but you have not made that call? I've got quite a few smiles, quite a few nods, and a few chuckles. You see, Toastmasters, guests, friends, all of these things have one common trait in particular. It is an inherent fear that we have in not being accepted. in various forms. Now let's understand what this non-acceptance or what this so-called rejection is, right? It is basically when you reach out to somebody with a request or putting a version of yourself forward or putting a certain quality of yours forward, and that request, that extension of yourself, that quality, or you as a whole do not get accepted, right? Obviously there are various facets, there are various forms, modes and media in which acceptance, non-acceptance could take place, right? It could be in personal relationships, professional relationships, it could be with acquaintances, and many, many more, and everyday transactions, right? But let us understand what actually drives the fear of rejection, because you see the fear of rejection is so profound that it actually is on par with the fear of death, right? And as we know, the old saying, certain things in life are definite, be it death and taxes. But unfortunately, rejection is also, if you may call, a third definite in life, and it does happen in our day-to-day lives. But how do we overcome it? First, let us understand what happens biologically, right? Biologically, when a person faces a form of rejection, and I'll come to what kind of forms they may be, there is a chemical flow in the body, right? A chemical which is released which is called opioid, right? Which is similar to the chemical that is released when you actually get hurt, physically injured. The same chemical is released when you face a form of rejection or somebody saying no to you. And that is why it actually hurts as much as it does. Even without physical pain, it is because of the chemical imbalance that gets released. But how do we overcome this? There are certain ways to overcome this, right? Just like how we do with injuries, various forms of physical pain, there are ways to overcome this, right? I read a book recently, and it's not one of your off-your-shelf self-help books, your household names. It's a little different. Many of you may not have heard of it, called Rejection Proof, based on a 100-day social experiment, by a Chinese origin person that settled in the US, on how you can face various forms of rejection, right? And I did my very own version of that, right? Faced with various tasks that I do, right? For example, he went to a Krispy Kreme in the US and asked for donuts in the style of the Olympic rings, right? And they actually did it for him. Now, where can you imagine doing that? It's like me going to a Domino's pizza and asking them for a square pizza, right? You just assume in your head it's not going to happen. They're not going to do it for you, right? But there are certain ways that you can use these experiments, you can overcome this. What are they, right? First, we need to understand that a rejection is not always personal. Now, again, don't raise your hand, but smile or nod. How many of you all have been rejected by the notorious Bangalore auto rickshaw drivers? Exactly. Right? Do you take it personally? No, right? You just move to the next auto and you go on. How many of you all have faced job rejections? Quite a few of us, right? We've not always gotten a scholarship, right? Does that mean we're not good at what we do? No, because you see that in various systems, right, there may be external factors that contribute to a no that is communicated to you. It is not always about you. It is not personal, and it is not meant to be taken personally, right? You could go out on a lovely date with somebody, right? But if they choose not to continue it, it's not always you. It could be where they are in their phase of life and personal choices. It's not about you. You could apply for a scholarship and not get it, and you think you could be the best candidate, but maybe they have only so much money that they could disburse, and they found more needy applicants that they have to give it. Again, not in your control. So the first thing is to detach yourself from a no and not take it personally with the examples. Just treat every no you get like a Bangalore auto rickshaw driver that doesn't even stop for you, just hears the name and continues driving. Take every no like that. The second is, every no has its limit. The number of rejections has a limit. Jack Ma applied to 30 jobs, he didn't get it. He applied to KFC. Out of 24 applicants, 23 jobs were given. He was the 24th who did not get a job at KFC. But look what happened, right? It is not always the case. No will not always be said. How did I apply that to my personal life? I've obviously not reached where Jack Ma is, as you can know and see. But when I was in college, we were in the 2008 to 2013 recession time. It was very difficult to get internships, and I'm talking about unpaid, 1 month, no strings attached internships, right? But we went from law office to law office with our resumes, and finally on the 10th or 11th, we would say, okay, please make me a copy, and one of them actually got back, right? So you try and test it, but you will find that there is always a barrier to break, or always a certain number of no's. And the third is that when a no is communicated to you, your idea may actually be revolutionary. And let us think of the Apple computer back in 1993 and what Apple has become today. Think of Twitter, the 140 limit character. But I will disclaim that I wrote this speech before Elon Musk started doing what he did with Twitter. Right? These are the kind of ideas. The earth is round. People laughed at that. The earth, the water on the sun, people laughed at that. I did a social experiment last month on men's mental health with a social group. The first idea when I put it across was rejected by a very senior person, a man. And he said, you cannot get a group of men to acknowledge mental health. It's difficult. There are so many barriers. People will not turn up. We worked hard. We got 30 people under the roof to sit and discuss it with a lead. That was a tremendous success. Right? So, summing up, no's are not to be taken personally. There is always a limit on the number of no's that you will get. And always keep in mind that a no can be indicative that your idea is revolutionary and you are actually so far ahead of the pack that they cannot fully digest what you're on. The next time, take a no in a positive light and go and catch the next model. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for that insightful take on rejection. I never thought I'll be full of confidence and excitement after hearing a speech about rejection, but it really made me feel good. It also helped me feel good that I was not the only one getting rejected for so many things when I saw everyone nodding for many of the things that you said. Now I promised to tell you about the clapping and the health benefits, so I'm going to tell it to you right now. Okay? So did you know that clapping is good for health? One is because it stimulates the acupuncture points, it improves your blood circulation, but most importantly, it makes everyone who comes on stage feel great as well. Right? So please give all of the speakers a huge round of applause. We are going to take a short 5-minute break. On the other side of the break, we have that exciting education session that I was talking about. So see you in 5 minutes. So it's now time for the exciting education session. Now the person who's going to end this education session is the District 92 champion for both international speech and evaluation. He is a personal growth consultant and motivation speaker, and he secretly, or not so secretly, harbors a desire to make it in Bollywood. And he asks all of you that if any of y'all have any recommendations or references, to please meet him among the many that you have to meet for the other doubts that I asked you before about it. So ladies and gentlemen, to remain in the best of health and to make our education speaker really pumped up to come on stage and deliver this exciting education session, please put your hands together for Toastmaster ETM Matthew Verghese.
the ex-president of Bangalore Toastmasters once said, public speaking engenders a sense of accomplishment. What she did not tell you was, in order to engender that sense of accomplishment, there is some secret sauce, a secret something for all of the speakers to move from being novice to becoming novelty, from being mediocre to becoming magnificent, and from being ordinary to becoming extraordinary. And before I share with you what that secret something is, we need to get a little out of our current setup. So just imagine this. Bangalore Toastmasters is arranging a trip to some place. Anyone can give you some suggestions? Cool. A little farther. Did you say? Vijay says Bangkok.
Allen Farmhouse. Allen Farmhouse.
Farmhouse. A little farther. How about Caribbean?
Quite far it is.
Yeah, but I'll tell you why. And then you tell me whether it's worth the visit or not.
Please.
And this is the challenge that Shashank has been facing. He's telling me, I'm trying to get all these people together, but they are putting forth problems and telling us it's a challenge. Now, three things. One, India, West Indies.
Okay.
We can watch that. I'm selling you on something, skills of negotiations. Second thing, there is the Toastmasters International Convention happening in the Bahamas. We can visit that. And of course, I'm sure you would want to go to the beach, Barbados, that famous beach. Shall we go ahead?
Yeah.
So imagine this. Shashank, your president, puts it in the group. Guys, we are going to go to this wonderful place. So get your beachwear ready. Your shorts, your sunglasses, your Hawaii shirts, and not to forget your Hawaii chappals. And all of us take the flight and we land in the Caribbean. We watch the match and we have a day off before the convention. So we go off and head to the beach. Shashank is leading all of us on that beach. And as we go across that beach, we see a lot of people sunbathing. We can't help but notice the people sunbathing, and Shashank sounds a warning. Guys, focus! He says, on what? Then what happens? We all follow him. He takes us to a spot where we get a very close-up view of the surfers. The people have a surfboard on hand. They're lying on the surfboard. They're paddling out into the ocean. They take their position to catch a wave. They are at the takeoff position now. And as the wave is beginning to break, they paddle even harder. And suddenly they pop up and they spring on that wave board. And with control and poise, they ride the wave. As they enjoy, finally the wave dies down. And they paddle once again to catch the next wave. And while we are enjoying the scene, suddenly Shashank once again screams out, guys, pack up. Now it's time for us to go back from where we had come. But let's come back to this setup once again. This is very similar to that beach. We'll call this the Toastmasters beach. All of us paddle out here week after week to a Toastmasters meeting. We wait patiently for that wave to come in, for that roll to come in of ours. And then, as the roll is announced, what happens, sir? We take our position, we accept that, and suddenly you're riding the Toastmasters wave with control, with poise, just like those surfers did. You are here with your content, with your speech, just like Brian and Aaron and Vijay and all the role takers. You're taking the audience through that beautiful scene, speech, and you're riding the Toastmasters wave. Now just question and answer session. I'm a professor, teacher, so I have this habit of asking questions just to make sure that my students are listening. So just to ask you, Brian, can you tell me what is the most important thing that you thought the surfer would require in order for him or her to be able to ride a wave? The wave itself. Anything else? The waveboard, yes, the waveboard, the force, all these things, the waveboard. Now, man, when it comes to speeches, what do you think is that one important thing that is required for a speaker? Sir says content. Absolutely. It will be different things for different people, but I agree with you, sir. Content is that one important thing. Now, when it comes to content, I just have 3 dimensions about content. What is content? Now, if you talk about people who are rich, they have a lot of money in their bank. And if you and I want to be good speakers, good leaders, then the one thing that you and I need to have is an inventory of good speeches or an inventory of good content. And that content is what's our treasure. A speaker's treasure trove is nothing but a lot of nice content. Content that is compelling. Now, what do you think is compelling content?
Should understand by everyone.
Absolutely, it should be understood by everyone. Now, when you talk of compelling content, you can look for things like activities, acronyms, analogy, anecdotes, anything that you experience in your life. What other speakers came and spoke today, you can take something borrowed from their material and build your own repository of speeches. And when you have anecdotes and analogies, you are able to go out and make a dent in people's life by all the content that you bring in. And when you have a repository of content, you don't have to worry about getting ready. You are always ready. And that's the important thing. If you ask me, I think content is the backbone of impactful speeches. Now, having looked at the content bit of it, let's look at another dimension. And this dimension is about connection. What do you think about connection? It should interest the audience. It should be meaningful for the audience. Anything else? Sorry? It should be relatable to the audience. The audience should be able to resonate with it. It should be adding value. It should be relevant. It should be riveting. It should be rich. And when this kind of content you have, you're able to make a real difference. I'll give you a little examples about what I was talking about, but we'll keep the examples for the end. Let's just go through the theory in the beginning. So you talked about content which is compelling. Then you talked about content with which you can connect with the audience. And at the end we talk about content which the audience can carry with them. Now, as speakers, all of us come and say something on the stage, but we don't want our speech to last only until such time that the timer raises her or his card. We want the speaker's message to resonate even outside of this hall. It's not just that the speaker speaks and everything is forgotten. How is it that you and I can develop content or content in such a way that will leave a lasting impact? For that, the speech needs to be insightful. There should be, it should be innovative. It should be impactful in more than one ways. And when you and I are able to do that, that's when this whole thing of content can be used for us in order to make a difference in the audience's mind. Now, we talked about 3 things. Just a quick recap. What are the 3 things or the 3 dimensions that we talked about when we said about content? 1, it should be compelling. The second one, it should connect, and finally, it should be something that the audience can carry. As speakers, you are leaving a little piece of you with the audience. You're sowing a small seed, and that seed could then lead to a whole ripple effect. You could remember that maybe years later and see, what I heard this particular speaker say this, and that resonates. It creates a ripple effect. Now let's look at a few examples of each of these categories. Number 1, we said it should be compelling. Hannah, there was this movie called Rocky. You would have watched that, right? During our times, I'm 27, I don't know, I guess you're 28 now. But growing up, I've heard that and listened to that. The speech, you have Rocky and his father. And Rocky's son, Rocky and his son. And Rocky's son, Rocky's a boxer, Sylvester Stallone. He's a boxer, and the son comes to the father and says, Dad, you don't have to go through another fight. I'm just beginning to make my name, and here you are going and fighting again. And people don't recognize me for who I am. They recognize me for being your son. Please don't do that. And then there's a dialogue there. And then Sylvester Stallone tells, or Rocky tells his son like this. Now let me tell you something you already know. This world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody can hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get it and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And that, I thought, is really compelling. It gives a relationship between a father and a son. Something that's so much of a life lesson in that little 2-minute clip. Content which is compelling. Now let's move ahead. What was the next one I said, sir?
Connect.
Oh, he's paying attention. I thought he's making a lot of notes, so he's not. Yeah, connected.
It's connected.
He's connected, yes. He's connected. Now what happens when it comes to connect? Have you heard or seen the movie Lion King? No? Then you should watch it now. Not that I'm an ambassador of Lion King, but just, it's a beautiful movie. You remember the small character in that? Simba. Simba and his father, Mufasa. So the scene goes like this. It's a new day and Simba is born. Of course, there's a lot of backdrop to it, but let's talk about Simba and his father Mufasa. So Simba wants to go around and have a tour of the place. So his father takes him onto the Pride Rock. He's on the Pride Rock, and the father looks around and says, "Look, Simba, everything the sun touches is our kingdom. One day, the sun will set on me as the ruler and will rise on you as the new king." Simba is excited. He says, "Then father, everything the light touches will be mine." "Yes, Simba." "Then what about the shadowy place?" "You must not go there, Simba. That's beyond our boundaries." You ask a little child not to do something, and what happens? He's talking out of experience. Like all of us have that experience, either as being somebody who has been disobedient, or we've played the role of a father who's found a child who is disobedient. You're an exception. Right? So that's something that can connect, whether it's a father or whether it's a child. That's something that is so very powerful. Now let's come to the last bit, which I said was, they take home. An audience takes home something. It was Wayne Dyer who once came out and said in his book, he said, "No one has ever died of a snake bite." Agree, disagree? Disagree. But then he goes on to explain. He says, the snake will bite you and leave. It is not the snake bite that kills you, it is the venom that the snake leaves behind that kills. Agree, disagree? He's thinking. But he goes on to give an analogy. He says, look, in life we will be bitten by a lot of snakes. These are the people who are around us. These are the people who may come and tell you something, do something to you, speak ill about you. But it's not what they have said that kills you, it is the venom that they leave within you, that you brood over, is that's eating you from the within. So a snake bite never kills anyone. It's the venom that the snake leaves behind that kills. And whenever you and I feel angry about something or someone or something that has happened, when an auto rickshaw driver doesn't allow you to get into, as Aaron was saying, you sometimes tend to get agitated, especially when you've got to come for a meeting and you're just left with 5 minutes, right? And you may carry that thought, Aaron, for a long time. So this is what happens. But when you think of what Wayne Dyer said, you know what, I can't change what has happened. What I can change is my reaction to it. So now that we've talked about content which is compelling, we've talked of content which should be connecting, and it should leave a lasting impression or an impact on your audience's mind. It should be carried by the audience. Now how is it that you and I can develop this kind of content on a day-to-day basis? We come here week after week, we hear speeches after speeches, table topics, evaluation. Every day you open the newspapers, we come across articles, we come across advertisement, we come across so many different kinds of things. How is it that you and I can develop a good content repository, if I may put it so. Any Rajdeep sir, how do you think we should do it? Developing a good content base. Absolutely, write down those things. Why not keep a content or a content journal? You write down those things. Anything else? Read a lot, yes, absolutely. You read and then you record them. You write, you read. The other thing could be just while you're driving, you get an idea strikes you, and ideas are like slippery fish. If you don't catch it, it will go on to somebody else. So what you do is you do a voice recording, you keep a voice note, whatever it is that you feel, you can keep that in your content file. And then when you get feedback, like Hannah Victoria is so busy, she's not listening to me, she's writing feedback and feedback. I expect the English professor to come and give a very detailed report, and I'm hearing what she's going to talk about my English, but let's keep that for another time. She's busy taking our notes, right, our counter notes. But this feedback that I will get, or that our audience is going to get is a very important tool in our repository when it comes to content. There would even be paper clippings that you could keep. And for all you know, you flip through the pages at a later date, sir, and suddenly that idea comes up, and for all you know, you have a speech ready. So I would urge all of you, if that is possible, to keep a little content journal or a little place where you collect those little quotes and little stories that have happened on a day-to-day basis, and suddenly you will see yourself having enough material, and that is the treasure trove of a speaker, of a good speaker. Then why do you think you and I need to come to Toastmasters? And that's the last bit of what I'm going to say. So you have content which is compelling, which can connect, which people can carry, and you know how to collect that, how to gather all that information. But information by itself, sir, is not going to help you and me, right? We need to put that into practice. And that's where something like a Toastmasters comes into view. You get an opportunity to come here week after week, meeting after meeting. Vice President Education Priyanka will put out roles. Here is your opportunity to grab those roles. And one simple mantra for those who are just getting started. I met some people, and Priyanka was saying they're just getting started. So for those people who are just getting started, one of the mantras could be a role a week, a speech a month. Now I do not know in Toastmasters like Bangalore Toastmasters, where you've got so many illustrious people. I know the roles will be taken like hotcakes, but if not, a role a week, a speech a month is a good benchmark for you and I to be able to write that Toastmasters way. And when you do that, suddenly you will realize that you have content which is compelling, you have content which is connecting, and content which the audience can take home when they leave. Then you don't have to worry. Brian need not worry when his father needs to go to an NGO because his father already has content with which he can convince the NGOs. Or our Vijay need not worry whether his daughter needs to wear blue or yellow. He's got very compelling content so that he can manage both. And Aaron, you never need to worry about being rejected, because if one rejection can always lead to another acceptance, because you have something more potent in your repository than anyone can have, and that is powerful messages. So my dear friends, I'll leave you with this. Powerful content will help you connect and carry your message. And when you do that, and when I do that, we are in a position to go out and make a difference, a little dent in the minds and hearts of people. And one important thing I'll leave you with this is be authentic, because it was Randy Harvey who once said, if you speak only from your heart, you will be perceived as a fanatic. If you speak only from your mind, you will be perceived as an academic. But if you speak from your heart and your mind, you will come out as authentic. So that's my real small message for you. The red card has gone up. I would now stop. I think there is some time for question and answers. Priyanka nods and says there's question and answers. Yes, sir, you can ask the first question. He was raising his hand, so I said, yeah, the first question goes to you.
So, in fact, completely your speech got my attention, and I forgot what to ask. So
okay, good. You're a good student. Thank you very much. one of the things that we as teachers fear is this question coming and we do not have the answers.
No,
Yes. Sorry? How to deal with stage fear. Fear the fear, that's the only thing that is there. What I've come to understand is, I'll tell you my story. I once spoke on stage when I was 14. That was an all Bombay elocution competition. I won the first prize there. Because of that, I got pushed to do my second and third and fourth speech, thanks to my dad. The second speech, I danced more, I spoke less. Nervousness. The third speech, halfway through, I forgot. The fourth speech, I barely started, blanked out. That day, I went to my father and told him, I'm never ever going to speak. And trust me, through the rest of my school and my college, I have never ever spoken. Until I joined Toastmasters when I was 39. For 25 years, I never had the guts of speaking on stage because of a deep scar that I carried. And then when I went to office, I goofed up once again when I was making a speech to the board of directors. And that's when I thought, you know what, all the amount of degrees that you have after your name doesn't come into use if you're not able to get up and articulate. And we started taking small steps and small steps. The one way to attack fear is to face the fear itself, like somebody had once said. So the more you take stage, the more you are willing to goof up in this kind of an environment wherein you have proper people supporting you, you get the feedback, and trust me, even if you falter and fail, you will still be applauded. Like you're going to see after I finish my speech. So this is a no-risk zone. You can come out and try whatever it is. They're all like family, so you don't have to worry about goofing up. And when you do it enough times here, somehow it gives you the courage to take it out. Take out that particular thing. So that's the only way I think. Take stage as many times as possible, make mistakes as many times as you can, and then you learn from those little mistakes, and then you proceed and progress. Yes.
If I'm practicing for 1 hour,
Yes.
after coming to the stage, I'm confusing and getting losing the words, then I stop. I don't know how. I have to practice that how many times I need to practice and then if some word is missing, I forgot the content and then stop it.
You're saying that you forget some word and then suddenly the flow is disrupted, right? Is it that you by-heart your speeches?
Sometimes I practice more so that I use it.
Okay. One way to do that is, it applies, everything in public speaking is something that you discover on your own. So you don't have a standard template. There are people who will practice their speeches repeatedly. There are those who don't spend as much time in practicing it, but somehow they're still able to do it. Now why or what you can try, I'm not sure if it works, but what you can try doing is not memorizing your speech. So when we speak here, there are two ways you could do it. You could retell a story, or you could relive a story. If you're retelling a story, it means you have memorized it in such a way that if something goes wrong, then you feel a sudden block. You're trying to recollect, what did I have to say, what. But if you're reliving a story here, you're trying to say not as much from what you have by-hearted, but rather from your own experience, then you don't have to worry about even goofing up because it's your story. If you miss a particular line, then you can always come back and do it. I'll be very honest with you. Today when I started, I thought when I was doing those three things, I thought I would say compelling speeches and give you an example. Then move to this portion and give an example. But what happened halfway through the speech, I got so carried away and Priyanka was waving saying that, increase your volume. I forgot what I had to say and I went to the next step and then I realized, my goodness, I have to give the examples. So what did I say? I'll keep all the examples for the end. You see, and I got all the examples at the end. So it's natural for a speaker to forget. It's okay. But don't beat yourself for forgetting. It's okay. Just come up and practice. Yes, practice is important. I'm not saying practice is not important. Try to go by, if it works for you, try to see if you can give just bullet points and work around the bullet points. And sooner or later, my dear friend, I'm sure you won't worry as much about forgetting because you're more worried about telling across your story. It need not be in that exact sequence. So long as you're able to come out and read your message, that's enough. I hope that helps. Yes, Priyanka. Yes. Yes. Yes.
But my biggest problem is getting the right words while putting it across.
Okay.
When I talk to myself, it is fantastic. The
Okay.
flow of words are just like this.
Okay.
But otherwise, I just can't get the right words to put across.
Have you tried speaking blindfold? Just try speaking blindfold and say there's nobody here, I'm talking to myself. And see, I'm just kidding. It happens. I mean, we all have a little loss of words for whatever you want to call that. That happens. It's quite natural for us to miss out on those words. But is there a way whereby you can say, this is the word I would like to use in this particular case? For example, when we talk about compelling stories, and if I said I want to have anecdotes, acronyms, activities, analogies, if I don't get those particular words, I would feel that I'm not, I have missed out on something. Can you come up with some key words? As a professor, when we are correcting papers, we look for key words. We don't read the whole answers. Brian, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. I know you still have lots of years going correctly, so please, sorry? Yeah. But you write the whole thing, just close your eyes for now, but we look only for the key words. So Priyanka, maybe you can come up with those key words and say, are these the words that will drive? For example, if somebody is broken and shattered, and you want to use the word broken, missing that word could possibly make you feel unhappy, even though the audience will not realize it. But if you think that's a powerful word to convey the message, then you try to find a way of connecting that word to that particular instance. I think it will come with practice. So that's the only way. Don't beat yourself for not remembering the right words, because your words and your content is very personal to you. So even if the people don't listen to that word, if the story is conveyed, if the message is conveyed, then try once more. The next time I tell that same story, I'm going to make sure that I say that word. And you say that a couple of times, you will not worry as much about the words, because more than the words, it's the story, the emotions that come out. And when they come out, words will all be on the back burner. Yeah? Yes.
Sir, actually, I've never given speeches myself, but
Yeah.
I've heard about people. And one thing I've always wondered, like, if it is a continuation to that question, that how do people remember such a long speeches? So, if you get an opportunity to talk about something, and you have enough content into your mind, and you have content enough.
Yeah.
So, would you suggest going impromptu, like, the person out and just go with the flow?
I would suggest that it all depends on where you are on that particular journey of your speaking. Initially, the very thought of speaking for 5 to 7 minutes is quite dreadful. But eventually, with passage of time, when you have the content, especially if you are you in which field are you in?
I'm
Product ownership. So if somebody asks you to speak on product ownership, I think you are the best person among all of us to speak on that. You will never have a problem worrying about that, right? But if you have enough content, I'll tell you how I do it. I do not know if it works for everyone, but the way it works for me, and it works for different people in different ways. But for me, I try to write down as bullet points. This is what I would like to cover. So if I talk about content, I will just say the opening, I would like to take the audience to a beach, then bring back to Toastmasters. Then I'll talk of content which will be compelling, connecting, and carrying. Then finally bring it to a close. I try to work it on those bullet points. So I don't have to worry about what is inside, but I just have to think of the framework, and then the rest has to be impromptu, because if you're giving a half-an-hour speech, I don't think anybody can memorize it. Only if Priyanka decides next time to have a teleprompter, and then you can, maybe Priyanka, that's the suggestion. She's asking for suggestions. Have a teleprompter. But other than that, I think it's going to be impromptu. It has to be impromptu. Yeah. Yes. Aaron says no.
One question.
One question. Okay, last question.
Madam, my question is that there's one part of it which is the content.
Yes.
The second part of it which is the delivery.
Yes.
Now, in between the two, I believe one very crucial fact which is a very, very confounding is the time.
Yeah.
So, if I go too slow, then the speech loses its impact. If I go package. If I kind of try to crunch too much into it, then I don't give it a good ending.
Yes.
So one way I'm sure is universal. Is there anything else you would like to?
Definitely, sir. I think that's a very, very valid question. And I say that because I have been disqualified even by a second. In my international speech and in my evaluation, I have seen either sides of the line. So what happens is sometimes you get so carried away that you don't worry too much about the timer and you continue to speak. But what I've come to understand is, while we may want to crunch in too much, our audience may not want to listen to it as much. So what you can do is start off by writing your first draft, which could be, if it's a 5 to 7, let's talk about a 5 to 7 minute speech. Typically, there are people who can cram in 700, 900, even 950 words. Because I have a habit of speaking too fast, and therefore I can cram in a lot of words. But what I've come to understand is, audience may not be willing to listen to you as much as you want to give them. For sure, if you draft and redraft and redraft and redraft your speech, you will be coming in a position to say that I want to say what I want to say. I will remove all the fluff and make it to, let's say, 700 words. Now, when you bring it to 700 words, you will make sure that you're not erasing the content or the impact of the content, but you're just cutting up the words. Try that. And when you bring it to 700, you give an audience the opportunity to laugh if they want to, because you may have some funny anecdotes. If you have 900 words, then you, even if they want to laugh, you cannot, because you are interested in completing the particular speech. So cut it down in such a way that you speak less or you convey more with less. It means convey more with lesser words. And it's a way of writing your speeches. If you try to condense a content in less than 1 minute, then you will realize that you remove all the fluff. I do that for my Instagram posts. I've started doing that of late. So I have to say something in less than a minute. But there's so much to say about that story. So the only way to do that is remove all the fluff and bring it to bare minimum such that the message is conveyed. So keep it less, say more with less. Right. The red card has gone up, so I think we have no time for questions. But I'll just leave you with one thing which my friend said here, and I think you said something very, very important. Reading, gathering information is so very important, because at the end of the day, if you do not have some things inside you, you cannot spill it out. So let's develop this content, and with that I hand it over back to the Toastmaster of the day.
DTM, Matthew Verghese spoke about content that is compelling, that connects, and that someone can take home. And you know, all through his session, I was thinking, his session was ticking all those boxes, right? I'm sure we all found it compelling, we connected, and there's a lot for us to take home from what he spoke. And can we all give him a huge, huge round of applause? It's now time for the evaluation session, and it's time to introduce the general evaluator for the evening. So our general evaluator is someone who used to love playing bridge, the game bridge, and he has a lot of awards to show for it. He is a seasoned Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Sudipto.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and would-be Toastmasters. How are you all doing today? Good? Great? I don't see. Great. So apart from the games which Alan mentioned, another of my passions growing up was playing soccer. So I was extremely glad that recently the Indian soccer team found its place in the sun by winning 2 back-to-back tournaments. And one of them, right here, about a couple of miles from here, winning the SAF championships. Similarly, today I saw a lot of speakers find their moment in the sun. And this session, this general evaluation session, is all about providing the critical nuggets to these speakers so that they can shine as bright as the sun. While the meeting started at 6:30 today on the dot, right? Yes. But if you take a step back, the meeting actually started, but the preparation for the meeting started almost a week back when Priyanka started jotting down the agenda, the speaker names, and for every position calling up everyone. And if you are fortunate enough to come here early, apart from the stats, that is, you will find the board well laid out with all the speaker names and all the vote takers. So for that, you have to give kudos to the committee and to the Sergeant General who started the meeting who started the meeting right on dot with a good deal of energy, right? And you had a very apt intro for the president as well. As you yourself mentioned that you were kind of flustered while using some of the lines. My only tip is just enjoy the moment. Okay. If you miss some words, it's okay. Next time round it will happen. So, but the other thing I would say is, while we did start on time, but just before, maybe 2-3 minutes before the starting, you can pump up the energy in the room. Hey guys, we are about to start. Hey guys, can you tell guys and girls? Can you take your place? We are about to get started. So, get the meeting going even before it starts. But for a good job done, let's hear it for Kulappan. Well, next we had our very debonair president on the stage. Smart. You want to thank him? Shashank, you had I would say, a great message for when you started off by addressing particularly to the new members. I mean, they are the ones who are kind of anxious how into what we are going to hear. So, and you did a personal, you did a recap of your own personal journey to Toastmasters. How did you do it? Right, I think that was very well done. I think one quote I will take away from you is happiness of others learning from us. I think I think that's what gives most satisfaction to all of us, speakers, non-speakers, anything we can impart to others. Right? And in that way, you gave them 2 golden rules. I'm not going to repeat those, but I would say, you can give more personal tips to the speaker, particularly when you're addressing the new members, how they can imbibe those tips in their speaking journey. But other than that, you were very dignified. I think you shone more light on the president's role. So let's hear it for Shashank. Now coming to the Toastmaster of the day. Okay, coming to the Toastmaster of the day, Alan. Alan, I thought you did a role, copybook role to the T. And let me recount why I'm saying that. So, first of all, great intros for all the speakers, bar none. And what I have found many times, most of the Toastmasters have good intros for the main speakers, but they hardly, give any time to the tag team. And which you did. You had good word for all of the tag team, right? And not only that, you unearthed the golden nuggets about the speakers. Each of your intro was about a very unique aspect for each of the speakers, right? Traumatized by playing, you know, airplane spotting. Wow. So that's one thing you did. Secondly, you connected the speakers very well, right? Even after one thing I remembered about negotiation skills and immediately how you went into the husband-wife journey into that, and then transcended to the next speaker. So that's another thing you did beautifully. Third thing which I consciously found you doing was, as the next speaker came on the stage, right, you raised your voice appropriately to welcome the speaker on the stage, to distinguish the speaker. Okay, fabulously. So I think you were not flamboyant, but you were as smooth as butter. And that's what a Toastmaster has to be. Toastmaster has, of the day doesn't have to be in the forefront, but it has to make sure that all the speakers shine because of it, and you did that appropriately. I really did not find great points to give you, so the only aspirational stuff I would give you is, given the level of expertise you have as a speaker, maybe you can inject more humor into the proceedings. Again, as required, right? It should be natural, but I'm sure you have the capability to do that. Okay, we'll move on to the individual speakers, and I will call upon the first speaker of the day was Brian, and I will call upon his evaluator, Steven.
Mama, I need a dog. Beta, why you need a dog when we have already one at home? It's a common dialogue from our parents. Audience, if you agree with the statement, raise your left hand. Brand, you just changed the perception of owning a dog through your speech. Let me highlight the excellence from your speech and learning you need throughout the day. Number one, storytelling. When you begin the speech, you said, Dad, I need a dog. Go and do the research about the dog. You did enough research, and when you said that, I have all the information. Better now you have exams. Let it postpone. You bought a skill of storytelling in your speech. I was leaving it in your speech. A speech gets life when you bring your personal stories, and you give a speech life to your speech by bringing your personal stories into it. And number two, you open up the mind of the audience by telling, don't call breeders, call for adoption. When you had this Kevin Park experience of finding a dog which is needed for the adoption, you got this importance of adoptions in everyone's home instead of adopting. But what I want to tell you is the improvement. You said don't call breeders, but if I give you the real story why you should not call for the breeders, if you could share a real experience how the environment is so bad for the dogs to get breeded, then you have inserted a angry emotion or a concerned emotions in the mind of audience, so that you have impacted your purpose. And number two, improvement. I found a dog in the Kevin Park which is ready for the adoption. I found a dog which is ready for the adoption. Emotion. There was misaligned with your emotions and your thoughts. Try to learn, align your emotion to the speeches. At last, you didn't feel bad for the audience. You got enough humorous by bringing your dad friend of 45 minutes of interview experience. At the last, you have impacted audience mind by bringing the purpose of owning a dog, how it helps in our day-to-day life, and make sure that purpose ignited in some audience mind to adopt a dog. Thank you. Over to Gender Evaluator.
adopt, don't shop. Thank you, Brian. Great informative speech, and thank you, Jeevan. Let's hear it for both the speaker and the evaluator. The next speaker we had was Vijay Kalkundri, and to evaluate him, we have another Vijay.
Ladies and gentlemen, in life, if you're faced with a tricky situation, don't negotiate from that situation, rather negotiate. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and guests, Toastmaster Vijay Kalkundri with Learning Project, negotiate with the best outcome. What you did well, Toastmaster Vijay, you opened with the personal story regarding negotiation, but I think what all of us hooked on the top. Well done. Second plus point, you shared the 5 types of negotiation which the project calls for, the 3 C's and the 2 A's. Very good. Third strong point, you shared a past negotiation experience which the project calls for as regarding the adjacent site. Well done. Now, if I may negotiate with you to share a few points where we could up our negotiation skills. The project calls for strategies when negotiating. I thought that was not. So first, if I were in your place, when we sit at the negotiation table, friends, remember, don't take victory for granted. The antidote solution for that is something called BATNA. People from Bihar, it's not Patna, it's BATNA. It's an acronym, BATNA. Best alternative to a negotiation agreement. That means, in other words, plan B. What if plan A doesn't work? Third, identify potential allies when you sit for negotiation. Who are with you? In your case, the school authorities, your association folks, and the NGO. Identify potential opponents. People will throw a spanner in the works. Right? That's also awesome. Now, also that acronym ZOPA, ZOP, there is zone of possible agreement. What you're negotiating, does it fall in the possible zone? I want to buy a car for 2.5 lakhs, but the seller is saying 3. So we don't, it's not in the range. And finally, if I were in your place, I would negotiate with the sergeant at arms because he had his right to show us both the site before and after. Having said that, Toastmaster, you ended by saying that negotiation is required for all of us in all walks of life. You connected with everyone in the audience. I just want to sign off by saying, after listening to your speech, in any tricky situation, we will negotiate and negotiate.
So we had 2 masters of negotiation give us tips about how to negotiate tricky situation. So which one can I use when the table topic master calls me and gives me a not favorite topic? Can I negotiate it out? So Vijay, I think apart from all the great things which I mentioned, the part which I like most about is when your audio visual device did not work, you were not flustered a bit. You just walked away, and that's another hallmark of a great speaker, with the aid or without the aid. Like you kept going and your speech was complete regardless of the other things. Let's hear it for both of you. The next speaker we had on the stage was Aaron, and to evaluate him, we have our very own Smith.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, if any of you role takers don't get the award, you can think that there's a limit for the award. Not that you have been rejected, right? Thank you, Alan, for taking us, helping us ride high on the wave of no, borrowing Matthew's metaphor. It was a really magnificent speech. The content was really great, And thank you for giving such an insight into no. And now we know that any rejections we get, we know why. Because it's not about us. There's a limit to no. And perhaps our ideas were so revolutionary. Now this is something all of us are going to take away. It's going to remain in our hearts forever. So thank you for that great value that you have given. Now when the content was so great, how could you have made it better? Right? Personally, I felt the pace in which you spoke was rather fast. So you had wonderful content which we needed time to absorb. Yes, you said that you were given feedback that you had to cook in your pace. So I would suggest have a quick pace. At the same time, pepper it with some slow, parts where you go a little slow. Maybe, when you give the instances. And the other challenge I wanted to bring in little stories. And that way, you balance both. Quicken your pace as well as slow down. So that is one point. And what I felt is, since you're such a seasoned speaker, you have not used the stage fully. So maybe, you can, according to the different notes, you could have changed. Because it was all around here in one place. So perhaps work on that and your pace of speaking, because content is always great. Your content has always been great. So these are the two suggestions I have for you. So on that note, let us give Aaron a thunderous round of applause for that and always ride high on our notes. Thank you.
And let's hear it for ETM Sumitra for a great graduation. And the only one thing I would like to add is, while you did not purposefully use the stage, but I saw you, moving a lot towards the stage, and not only that, you were using your hands effectively, but when you were not using your hands, it was like this. Thanks, Steve. Okay, we will go on to the back team now. Let me call our timer, Mehbubullah. Timing time. Let's see. Does it wait for you or not?
Well, in fact, all the speakers and evaluators exceeded the time, probably because they had a great content and they connected well, and of course their speech resonates. Brian took 7.03 minutes. Vijay took 7 minutes 46 seconds. Aaron took 7 hours 54 seconds. And Jeevan 217, Vijay 219, Mr. Nagesh 249. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehboob.
Welcome.
As donning the R counter role is someone who was lost in their own words. Vasi, thank you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Yes. The filler words used today were, I think, right, and there were repetitions of the words right, negotiated, and particular. And we also had
yes. It was such a delight and a treat to listen to all the speeches and the role takers today. I'll start off with the good usage of English language, underrated stars, world of encouragement, angel in disguise, facelift to the empty sight, quite a few nods, quite a few chuckles, inherent fear, third definite in life, an insightful take, ordinary to extraordinary, enjoy the wave, paddle out each week, riding the Toastmasters wave, inventory of good speeches, speakers, treasure cove, repository of content. Content is the backbone of impactful speeches, beat you to your knees, everything the sun touches, ideas are like slippery fish, passage of time. And not so good usage would be just a few couple of them. Years together can be several years past. Calling a particular leaders could be called breeders. Actually giving to her can be actually giving her. Brutality into breeding is brutality of breeding. Tell it to you right now is will tell you now. Speech gets life can be speech is brought to life. Audience mind is audience's mind. And the word of today I noted only DTM Matthew saying it. If anybody else has Toastmaster Vijay, anybody else? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you once again, and it was a brilliant lesson.
Wow, Hannah, what listening skills. We husbands would be proud to imbibe some of that. And your report has engendered the desire in me to use the word of the day. So folks, let's hear it from some of you. How was the meeting today? Yeah, I thought we had a fantastic meeting. Where is our education speaker? Hey Matthew, I'm not going to evaluate you. Just tell you that I'm thankful that I was here to partake of your great evaluation session. Let's hear it once more for all the speakers and evaluators. With that, I would like to thank the committee for giving me this opportunity to use the stage. And back to you, Alan.
It's the time you've all been waiting for. Before the end of the speech, it's time for the code, right? So the code is energy, all small, and I'm going to give you 10 seconds because if I start before 10 seconds, nobody's listening. So 10 seconds, right? Can we have a lift of hands for people who have finished? So you'll know if you can apply for Conganega to
Thanks.
No one? Okay, I'm guessing you all are almost there. I would personally like to thank the committee for giving me this opportunity. But more than that, I would like to thank all of you. The reason why I'm saying it is, a lot of people like the prepared speeches, even the education session, general evaluator, all the roles that people take up, when they come here, a lot of what makes them do what they do is sometimes your reaction. So your smile, your clap, and your encouragement has made this meeting what it is today, and you have had a huge part to play in today's meeting. So please give yourselves a huge round of applause. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our President Shashank. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Alan, for taking this meeting forward. And can we have one more round of applause to all the speakers and because Alan encourages us to clap more. Can we have one more round of applause to our education session speaker, D.T. I would like to call upon Toastmaster Robinson D'Souza, the founder member of our club, to please come on stage. As a token of gratitude, I would like to call our education session speaker, DTM Matthew Davies, to please come on stage and accept our small token of gratitude. Can you please have a round of applause? That's a check. Much more. Thanks for that. Just kidding. It's time for the awards. The best evaluator for today, Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Vijay Anand. The best auxiliary role taker, the tag team player, our grammarian Toastmaster Anna Victoria. Best role taker for today goes to the loudest member of our club, Toastmaster Alan Arana. And the best speaker award goes to Toastmaster Aaron Kamath. Request Aaron to please wait. I call upon our one of the senior members of our club, DTM Rajdeep Mandani, to please come on stage and join me. Aaron Kamath of our club represented our club at the area and division levels of evaluation and table topic contests and made our club proud. We thank him from our hearts for making our club proud. First of all, by winning the club level contest, winning the area level contest and reaching the division level contest. And I am sure in the coming years, he would bring the crown back home to Bangalore Toastmasters Club. On this note, I would ask DTM Rajdeep Mandani to hand over a token of gratitude to Toastmaster Aaron Khan. With that, hope you all have a wonderful meeting. I request all the guests to meet the executive committee and VP membership in particular, Toastmaster Jose Paul, who would help you with any queries and questions about the Toastmasters Club or the Speechcraft program, which is beginning on the 13th of August 2023, which is next Sunday, 13th of August. What is the speech draft program, the fast track public speaking course program, and how it will help you? To answer all your queries, we are there to guide you. Please reach out to the committee and Toastmaster Jose Paul in particular to get your doubts or queries resolved. On that note, thank you all for being here. I'll see you here next week at 6:30. I adjourn meeting number 1388.